Fantastic. So, hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Daniel. I'm the Careers and Employability Manager for the College of Social Sciences, and that means I work really closely with the School of Law. Today, we're here for the Get That Traineeship session, and followed by a short kind of prepare for the law fair session as well. And today, I'm joined by Megan. Megan, I'm going to hand over to you and for you to introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Meg McDonald and I'm from the Law Society of Scotland. I'm in the Careers and Outreach team, which means I primarily work with law students, people thinking about studying law at university, or those who are in the early stage of the careers. I handle all things chats with students in terms of things like this today, get that traineeship, or first year talks, as well as attending law fairs as well. So we'll jump right in with my slides today if everyone's all right with that. So obviously we get the traineeship. So the topics that we're going to talk today are about the diploma. So that's the next step on your journey to become a solicitor here in Scotland. Speak a wee bit about traineeships, some insight that we have into the traineeship market. At the Law Society, we're in a very unique position because we're able to give unbiased insight to the market along with some statistics and advice. We do not offer traineeships, which is something that a lot of people do ask us. So we don't offer traineeships here at the Law Society, but obviously we are able to give you all that advice. We are going to speak a wee bit about applications and where to get some more advice as well. So next step on your legal journey is going to be the diploma or the Diploma in Professional Legal Practice, or sometimes referred to as PEAT1. If you do want to become a solicitor in Scotland, this is a mandatory course that you need to take. It's taken at a postgraduate level and it is around the academic year, so 9, 10 months, depending on where you choose to study. It's designed as a bridge between the theory part of your LLB and the practical workplace settings of the traineeship. So it is going to be more theory based on what it is actually like working in a law firm and doing things with clients rather than the LLB, which you're currently sitting in now, which is more academic and more kind of learning about the inside part of the law. This is the actual practical part of it. So, as we said at the bottom here as well, it's more focused on the learning which can be applied to the traineeship when you do move on to your traineeship. It can include things like drafting and working in smaller groups, which is always very handy. So, big thing here we talk about, and it's always our mainly asked question here at the Law Society, is about diploma applications. I know a lot of people who have got in touch this year on this academic season because it's been quite stressful with the amount of spaces that have been on the applications. So we just like to set your expectations right now on exactly what we're looking at. So the applications here, we'll see that these are the typical applications that come out by the diploma providers. As you will be aware, there are 10 universities that offer the LLB in Scotland and only 6 that do offer the diploma. So they do have to have quite high admissions rate or to get in. So you'll see here it's got the 4 things that diploma providers tend to look for. The biggest thing is your academic performance and your core modules. So your core modules are usually undertaken in years 1 and 2, or if you're on the accelerated LLB, across the whole of your degree. These are the modules that are set out by the Law Society of Scotland. Therefore, this is what diploma providers are looking for. And then when you do go on to ask for a entrance certificate, sorry, from the Law Society of Scotland, these are the ones that we're checking just to make sure that you pass. So they do tend to look for high marks in there. The next thing they do look for is your GPA, so that's your all-round classification, just making sure that you're passed all your exams, making sure you've got that kind of high standard of academic behind you. We'll go to the first choice provider now. As some of you might be aware, or you might not be aware, when you do apply to the diploma, it will ask you to rank 2 providers. So out of the 6, you'll rank your top 2, and that's who that you would like to attend to. Some institutions will only look at those who have ranked theirs as number 1. For example, if you're going to rank Glasgow as number 1, they might only look at Glasgow applicants. So they're not going to look at anyone who's ranked Glasgow as number 2. The next thing they look at is contextual factors. So this is traineeships or extenuating circumstances. Some diploma providers do take into account if you do have a traineeship. This is only a few of them. It's not the biggest thing. So if you do have a traineeship, doesn't mean you're guaranteed entry to the diploma. Those other factors are still massive and they're still bigger. However, they do take it into consideration because they do not want those who already hold traineeships to have to go and delay their traineeship a further year. But it means if you don't have a traineeship entering a diploma, which we'll talk about a wee bit further on, it does not mean that you're not going to get onto the diploma. The next one is extenuating circumstances. They will take into consideration some of these if you have had to postpone exams or you haven't maybe done your best in some exams. However, it has been brought back to from the diploma providers that they will only take that into consideration if it's put in at the time. So, for example, if you have a module in third year that you didn't do too well in because you had some circumstances going on in your life, make sure that you speak to your tutors or make sure you speak to the law school right now. You can't come back next year and say, well, this happened in third year and that's why I didn't do very well. Make sure that everything's on record right now. You'll see the competition for the diploma has been very, very high. We look on year-to-year basis, so it can change each year. It might change next year when you go to apply. However, it is something you need to think about. If you know where you want to set your diploma, make sure that you're looking into it just now, or make sure you've got a good idea of where you want to set, because it is quite high. Applications are going to open in February to April. Again, this is quite standard. It might be subject to change. However, it's more than likely going to stay February to April, and that's for studying the same year. So you'll apply in the February of your fourth year, and you'll sit your diploma, should you get in, and that's September when it roughly starts. The Law Society do hold a virtual diploma fair in February, which will give some more information. We invite all the diploma providers to come, pass on any information that they want to give to applicants. Therefore, you can make that decision about who you want to apply to after those applications, February to April. It doesn't matter when you apply in them, as long as you apply within that time frame. So, the reason that we're here today for the traineeship. So we'll go across some of the basics of the traineeships. Obviously, I'm sure most of you are aware, especially if you are looking into traineeship applications just now. However, I'd just like to make sure that everyone does, and that is, so your traineeship must be supervised by a Scottish qualified solicitor. So you can't practice with someone who isn't on the roll of solicitors in Scotland. The traineeship must be registered with the Law Society. When you do have your traineeship, you're willing to send us your training contract, you're willing to send us your graduation, your transcript from your graduation, along with your certificate of graduation as well from Glasgow. The Law Society will regulate the traineeship and supports the traineeships in any issues arising. This can be anything at all. We have a dedicated team to do this. So if you have any issues with starting your traineeship, any issues during it, you can get in contact with us and we are able to speak to them or able to help you out in that way. So places you can do your traineeship, that can be at bigger firms, smaller firms, sole practitioners, or in-house organisations. So you're finding the traineeship works in the same way as finding a graduate job or a graduate scheme. They'll be advertised online. The Law Society will not find your traineeship for you. We have no role in allocating traineeships because we do get questions. And I do know when I sat my LLB, especially in first and second year, I just assumed I was going to graduate and the Law Society were going to just let me know where my traineeship was. So if you don't know it by now, we have no role in allocating your traineeships. We also do not have any traineeships here at the Law Society. So the next part is saying you can work in any area of law during your traineeship. So if you're interested in this particular area, you can apply to there. So that could be, for example, we've got here family law, private client, real estate, or litigation. Some people would like to choose a multi-seat traineeship, which would mean like those bigger firms where you can practice in different areas. Usually these seats last about 6 months. You do about 4 of them. However, it really depends on the training that you want to get or the training your traineeship is able to offer you. So it is easy to qualify into the area that you have your traineeship in. However, it's possible that you can gather CPD in networking events. So you can essentially do some training on another area, however, and qualify into that area. But it is standard route and a wee bit easier is to do it through the one that you actually set your traineeship in. So we often find that most people don't give information to the basic question, which is what traineeship do you want? And a lot of people think just get the traineeship secured. Students get in touch and say, I'll take anything. I don't care. I just want a traineeship. However, we need to make sure that you're very, very clear on what you're looking for from the outset. So if you want to work in a bigger firm, do you want to work for a smaller practice, or do you want to be in a rural area? Do you want to go to court, private client? You need to know kind of now, because then you can really tailor your applications to them. Don't focus on just one area if you're not too sure. If you are very sure, focus on that one area. Make sure that you're really making yourself aware of what that firm does and if you would actually like to work for them. So the traineeship timeline, it's really, really important to be organised when it comes to looking for traineeships, especially if you want to work in a bigger firm. You'll see here that bigger firms can recruit for 2 or 3 years in advance. So that means they are starting to recruit for people at your stage here in third year, or you're on the first year of the accelerated LLB. It just means they're opening now their traineeship, these bigger firms, looking around kind of 2026 and 2027 for some of them. So they're hiring quite a lot in advance. So bear in mind, this is just a general rule, and you want to research the firm or the industry that you want to work in to make sure you can see when that application windows would open. Smaller firms tend to have a shorter time frame, and sometimes they need an in the moment trainee. You'll see that people will post on, for example, LinkedIn or Law Scott Jobs, where they need a trainee to start tomorrow. So if you go and you complete your diploma and you finish your diploma up in the June, a traineeship might come available in that July, because a smaller firm might need a trainee there and then, or to start the next week. In-house organisation, mixture between the bigger and the smaller firms. Some of them look to hire well in advance, some of them look to hire when and if they need them. It really, really just depends. What we'd always recommend here at Law Society is making a spreadsheet which contains the different employers you might be interested in, with the information of when they're likely to recruit. Most of the information can be found online. We do have some information on the Law Society of Scotland web pages as well. However, they tend to put them up quite well in advance because they do know that people are looking for them kind of round about this time frame. This October to kind of January time frame is when these bigger firms tend to open their applications if they're not already open. I know a few of them who had closing dates for their applications last week, so that means that some of them have actually closed applications for 2027 starts, so that's 3 years in advance. Again, if you're an accelerated LLB student, you can start applying now. You can start applying from the onset of your full-time course, because technically you will be graduating within those 2 year period. So this is really looking for the traineeship vacation schemes or internships that they might have. This is more relevant to the big or larger mid-sized firms. So you'll see up here the kind of graphic we have about the vacation scheme alumni and direct applicants. So these bigger firms do tend to take about 70% of their trainees will come from either vacation schemes or internships, but they do have 30% of their spaces for the direct applicants. So if you know that you want to work for one of these bigger firms, make sure you're applying to any internships and traineeships, internships or vacation schemes they have available, sorry. However, they are very aware that that's not always accessible to everyone, that not everyone can come for the summer and live in a different area, or they might have to work in whole-time, part-time jobs, etc. That's absolutely fine. That's why they do have those direct applicants. They do have a set amount of applicants they will take from direct applications, because they understand. Most of the bigger firms aren't looking for legal work experience from their vacation schemes. With this being said, holding down a part-time job when you're at uni, whether that be hospitality, retail, etc., that means that they are aware that you're able to study full-time as well as hold this job. That says a lot about someone. Just because you have loads of weeks training in a law firm or shadowing in a law firm doesn't mean you're any better than the candidate who's held down a part-time job for all 4 years of university, or 5 years including the diploma, and is interacting with people day to day. Identification schemes and internships, employers tend to use these in an extended interview. This is to kind of see how trainees will perform at work in terms of their skills or their approach, etc. However, they definitely do keep those spaces open for those who can't apply for these traineeships. So please, if you can't do vacation schemes, or you've not managed to get onto a vacation scheme, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get a space at one of these bigger firms. So this is a big question that we always get, is how many traineeships are there out there? So there definitely has been a rise of post-pandemic, which has stabilised. So the legal market did perform quite well after COVID, which I think a lot of people were concerned about. We are going to anticipate for yourselves when you're going to apply for these traineeships, it's going to be the similar number to this year and last year, which is around 750, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is fairly comparable to the number of spaces that are on the diploma. So about 85% of people who graduate and secure a diploma will get a traineeship. So that's only around 15% of people who will complete the traineeship or complete the diploma, sorry, and not get a traineeship, whether that be because there's no traineeship available to them then and there, or they decided to go down there. There is a high competition marker when it comes to diploma because there has been an oversupply of people wanting to go and sit the diploma comparison to the traineeships. You'll see obviously on the graphic here that the traineeship statistics dropped quite a lot during COVID, but have rise quite a lot again into the last few years. So what size of firms do trainees work in? Again, many people think most traineeships are with bigger firms, which is a complete myth. About 50% of traineeships out there are mid-large size firms, and about 40% of traineeships are between the smaller firms, so that's the 1 to 10 partners. So it's not all high street firms, some of them are boutique specialist practice, and 11% of traineeships were in-house last year, which is fairly usual. A lot of people don't think that in-house traineeships are big, but 11% of them, which is quite a good number. And interestingly, around 1/3 of the membership of the Law Society of Scotland do work for in-house as qualified solicitors. So a lot of people do move to in-house post-qualification. They're generally less in-house traineeships due to the perceived commercial viability of a traineeship. So that just means that a lot of people tend to want to go for these bigger firms because they'll get to be exposed to lots of areas of practice of law at first. However, the in-house is where people tend to move post-qualification, which is quite interesting. Most people think try that again, sorry. Traineeship with a sole practitioner is usually around the 6 to 10 partners at the firm. People might not expect that. However, it is around 8% of trainees are going to in-house with sole practitioners these days. So where in Scotland are these traineeship by geographical area? So this is across the last 3 years. So traineeships are usually spread across Scotland, but it generally mirrors the number of students at the different universities. Sometimes apart from the Aberdeen universities, it tends to be along the more central belt, which is quite unsurprising. You'll see down here in this other section, competition for traineeships in those rural areas, so way up north or kind of down by the borders, tends to be a wee bit less high, so you are able to get a traineeship a bit easier. However, this is because the firms do want to invest in those who are interested in staying locally. So if you're maybe from one of these rural areas and you know that you want to settle down there or you want to live there for a good amount of time, then that might be something that's of interest to you because it is a lot less high. So common myths, these are the questions that we get asked quite a lot about diploma. And when I say quite a lot about the diploma and the traineeship, I mean pretty much every day. So the first one at the top there is, I haven't secured a traineeship, I shouldn't apply to the diploma. Only 50% of traineeships are secured before diploma starts, which if you're thinking along your peers on your courses now, people may be starting to get traineeships. It is only 50% of them. The majority of the traineeships will be maintained or secured throughout the diploma. So don't stress about that timeline. If you haven't got a traineeship and you're thinking, I don't want to apply to the diploma until I've got one, a lot of firms have got the insight knowledge in saying if you're a graduate of an LLB and they're securing a third year on it, they're wanting to secure someone who has already passed their LLB and already passed their diploma, so they know that they're ready to go and there can't be any issues down the line. The next one here, that most traineeships are in bigger firms, so I can only apply to a small firm because I'm reducing my chance of securing a traineeship. No. Collectively, the smaller firms have the same number of traineeship and opportunities as the bigger firms. A lot of people think because they're bigger, to do it, but they tend to take on maybe 10 to 12 trainees a year. These bigger firms, it's not a lot that they are taking on. And in this one here, I want a traineeship. I should apply to every opportunity now. No. Remember, it's always quality over quantity when it comes to the applications. You want to make sure that your application is always tailored and targeted to that firm. It needs to be clear to the employers or the recruiting manager that you really want to work for that firm. So prioritise the traineeships that you think will be a best one for you, and make sure your applications are strategic, because they don't want a generic application coming through. They want to know that you actually want to work for them. So where can I find the traineeship? Which I think most people, if you don't hold one already, will be interested in this slide. So applying for traineeships, it feels like an extra module. It feels like a part-time job on the side. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of time, a lot of effort that goes into it. But we aim to make that a wee bit easier for you. So there's no one place where all the traineeships are listed. So you're not going to find a page on the Law Society of Scotland's website that says, this is every traineeship available. What do you want? You've got to go out and find that for yourself. So the firm or the company website, if you know the kind of industry and the firm that you want to work in, research them. They'll have their either application windows open, or they'll have timelines of when they're going to open. If they don't, then you can look back on last year's application to kind of gauge when they're likely to open their applications for yourselves. The next one here is law fairs and the careers event that's happening tomorrow, obviously, for you guys. Come along, there's going to be law firms that are going to be there. Ask them when their application windows open, when they're likely to close. Don't apply as soon as they open if you're not confident enough for it. Make sure you've got enough time to work on your application and you're carefully checking everything. Please don't underestimate social media, especially LinkedIn. So many roles are advertised on LinkedIn or through the company pages or profiles. So make sure you're following the right people, especially if you have a firm that you're interested in that maybe have a Glasgow alumni. Contact them on LinkedIn, connect with them, have a chat if they're able to, make sure they're giving you all the insider tips of when those applications might open. I know I personally share on my LinkedIn page a lot of traineeships that come up. I repost them. A lot of people do. So don't underestimate LinkedIn. The next one here, we have the legal platform and Law Scot Jobs, or Scottish Legal News. Law Scot Jobs is a great one, especially if you're looking for traineeships or part-time kind of legal jobs. They're updated very, very regularly. Make sure you've got your settings on as well. You can put push notifications on for the type of traineeships that you're interested in. At the bottom here, we've got a top tip for you. We have a Find a Solicitors page on our Law Society website where you can find an individual either by location or legal expertise. So you can go on there and search for example, family law and your postcode or local postcodes to you, and find a solicitor practicing there. You can maybe get in touch with them to send out an email and ask, when are you planning on opening your applications for traineeships, or how many applications do you get a year, and how many traineeships do you take in a year? This kind of knowledge is going to be the best thing for you. Next thing is all about employability. So these are some of the processes that you might encounter during the applications. So familiarise yourself with anything that maybe looks unfamiliar to you, and try to get plenty of practice in and drafting your applications or getting your CV perfect. We tend to see that smaller employers, so these are look at specific networking, speculative applications. Not a lot of people do like doing these. However, they're a great way if you know that there's a smaller firm that maybe don't post their traineeship applications. Send in an application, send in an email, a cover letter. That's something that they actually do. They tend to do informal application forms, so that's just your basic name, age, where you're from, kind of thing. Not your age, sorry, that was a bad example, but that kind of thing is a kind of standard application form. They'll tend to do more face-to-face interviews, and they'll use social media effectively. So they'll be using their kind of LinkedIn pages, for example, to advertise. Bigger employers, so these bigger firms tend to use application tracking systems, internship and vacation schemes, and application forms. So these are larger application forms that maybe ask you to fill out 200 to 300 word answers. You maybe have to strategically plan those ones. They tend to use that STAR approach to interview, so if you're not aware of it now, make sure you do get aware of it, or competency-based, strength-based interviews. They also tend to use psychometric testing in assessment centres, which people do have a love-hate relationship. So if you're not aware of psychometric testing or you don't really know what they are or how to complete them, I'd recommend having a look about on the internet because there's a lot of places that you can test yourself on those. So top resources for employabilities, your university career service. I'll say it before and I'll say it again and time after time. Your university's career service is one of the best things you can do. These people are here, they're paid to help you, they want to help you. So don't stress yourself out about applications or CVs. Make an appointment with your career service and get in touch with them because they will be able to help you. This is what they're here for and it's what they love doing. That's their job. So make sure you're making full use of them. Most universities, and I'm sure they'll be able to confirm this for you, will have an alumni scheme as well where you can get in touch with them for maybe 1 to 2 years after graduation and they'll still be able to help you with applications. Employer websites, so look at the candidate application packs. These bigger firms especially will put their application packs online prior to opening their application windows. They're great. It makes you see exactly what they're looking for and how they're going to use their applications systems. Again, your LinkedIn advice and contacts. If you're not already on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. It can be a bit cringy sometimes, but it is your best way to make those networks and make those connections. Legal bloggers and influencers, it's something that's on the rise. We're getting a lot of more people who are sharing their day-to-day lives as trainee solicitors. They're sharing their processes going through law firms, for example. Make sure you'll get in touch with them. Again, they're using their platform to share their experience. They want to be asked questions. The more they get asked questions, the more they can make more content. So definitely reach out to those, maybe if it's on TikTok or YouTube, for example. Your peers, each other is going to be your best insight right now. Share your insights. If you come across a traineeship that you think I applied to it, went through the interview stage, and you know that one of your peers is also applying to that one, reach out to them because they might have a wee bit more knowledge than you do on one certain part of that firm, but you might have already done your interview and can give them some top tips about the things that are going to ask. Make use of each other because it is your best insight at right now. So look here, these are some of the attributes that employers do look for. Often evidences values can be more important than showcasing your specific skills. So it's a good way to test your compatibility with a company. So things like genuine passion, commercial awareness, and communication. So they want to make sure that you have a passion for that firm. They want to make sure you want to work for them and you don't just want a traineeship. So this is why being targeted applications and being strategic is essential so you can honestly answer the question. You're going to sit down in the interview and they're going to say, why do you want to work for XYZ? It's not because you have always wanted to be a solicitor and you have watched so many law TV shows since you were younger and that's just what you want to do. That's not the answer. As much as it shows passion for law school, it doesn't show passion for that employer. They want to know, why do you want to work for XYZ? What have they done in the past, or what kind of work do they specialise in that you think you can bring something to the table and also contribute to what they're also doing. Applications, common pitfalls. These are something, again, a lot of people get in touch with us and say, I've sent out 30 applications, I've had one reply, no one else has get back to me. They'll send in maybe their applications or their CV, and these are the common pitfalls we say. So being generic, example, I worked in a professional capacity to improve my knowledge. It's not telling you what you've done. It's not telling you how you've improved your knowledge. It's just so generic. Poor grammar and silly mistakes. Poor grammar is the thing that we see time and time again. Make sure you're using spell checkers. Make sure someone else is reading over applications for you, especially when you're looking at an application for a long time. It starts to look right or it starts to look completely wrong. Make sure that you are double checking it. Not answering direct question and focusing on what you think they want to hear or the answer that you wanted to use. I'm quite guilty of this myself, where I've got an answer in my head that I want to say to kind of show I'm aware of the question, and I'll ramble on. They don't want to see that. They want to hear direct answers to the questions they're asking. Waffling, being concise, again, it shows maturity and professionalism. Underselling yourself. No one else is going to sell you. You look at that application and look at those CVs as if it's not yourself. My best advice to you is think about how your mum's friends comment on your mum's posts on Facebook when she posts a picture of you. Everything's positive, everything's brilliant. That's what you want to write in your application. None of these are surprising. However, time and time again, people are making these same mistakes. So make sure that you are double checking everything. Getting feedback and support. So make sure you're feeling confident about your applications from an early stage. Make an appointment with your careers advisor. I said it before. They are here to help you. They want to help you. And more than likely, if you're using an application that you or you're applying to a specific firm, sorry, they've helped someone last year for that same firm, or they've helped someone the year before and the year before that. So they know exactly what works for applications and what works. Things like the fit wasn't right for you is hard to hear, but it's very true and it works both ways. You need to be in a right place for you. Be open to critique. If you're not going anywhere and you've created multiple applications, you need to find out why. So if you've applied for 15 traineeships, you're getting absolutely nowhere. You need to know why. Is it your application? Is it your grades? What is it? You need to know. So seek feedback from your employer if they offer it at the stage. A lot of them won't offer early stages of the applications. However, further down, if you do get further down, they will offer, some of them do offer feedback on it. Again, speak to your friend, a contact, or a family member, or a careers advisor. They want to help you. Sometimes your friends can be the most brutal, and it's the best thing. You want someone to read it over and tell you exactly where you've gone wrong. So we always speak about well-being here at the Law Society of Scotland. It's a big thing for us, whether that be as law students or within the profession. So please, we know that looking for a traineeship is stressful, so look after yourself. There is services available to you, so offload onto your friends or families if you need to. Peer support can be invaluable during this time. Been there myself during third and fourth year of studying the LLB. It's hard. You don't think that everyone feels the same way as you, but I can promise you they do, because there's going to come a time, a couple of days after graduation, where someone's going to say to you, gosh, that third year was terrible. I cried the whole semester. And you're like, why didn't you tell me this at the time? So make sure you're using each other. Seek support. There's things that offered for you throughout applications or just throughout the semester itself. So the welfare service at your university, again, they're here, they want to help. That's what they're being paid for, what they're volunteering for. It's there. Law Care is a free confidential service available to students. It's done via telephone. You can get in touch with them, speak to someone who, again, wants to help you. And Law Scot Wellbeing, which is more into the profession as well. We help people all stages of the profession because we want to make sure you are keeping care of yourself. Be honest about your career goals. If becoming a solicitor isn't for you, that's okay. Remember, only 50% of students complete the full route to becoming a solicitor. Other graduates use their LLB and be extremely successful in other professions. I used my LLB and now work at the Law Society of Scotland, work helping people like yourselves get traineeships or progressing on to the next stage, and it's something that I extremely love. So no one's career path is linear. You might have a different goals to your friends. Remember, if you know you want to work in a small practice and you want to work in a very, very niche area of law, and your friend sat next to you wants to work in a big commercial firm, the chances are of them getting their traineeship that bit quicker, because they do open their traineeship application that far in advance, is going to be quite high. You're going to get a traineeship down the line. It's not going to fall in line exactly where you want it to be happen. People are going to get them before you, they're going to get them after you. remember as well that 50% of people don't have a traineeship before the diploma. So again, if you find yourself one of those people who don't have one in fourth year and you think you're unlucky, your situation is completely normal. So we're going to take some questions obviously at the end once we've been through some of the lawfare chats. However, if you want to take a wee screenshot or take a photo of this careers@lawscot.org is our main inbox where you can get in touch with us here at Law Society of Scotland. It's a manned inbox. It'll either come to myself or one of my colleagues. And down at the bottom is my direct email. Please feel free if you've got any questions as well that you don't want to share today. Send me an email and I'll also be at the law fair tomorrow. So if anything comes up overnight, just come and find the Law Society of Scotland stand tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks so much, Megan. Some really interesting and useful information, insights, and advice, which I'm sure is going to be so useful to everyone joining the call today. What I'm going to do now is just share this slide deck, and we'll just switch over. Okay, Megan, can you just confirm that you can see that?
Yes, I can.
Yeah,
Sorry.
wonderful, fantastic. Great. So what we're going to do is just really talk a little bit then about the kind of how you can prepare for the law fair. And the reason that we do this at the end of this session, as you've heard, is some exhibitors joining us tomorrow might have their traineeships, but even if you're not at that stage, it's a great place where you can go and interact with people, talk to people, and find out about the kind of opportunities that they're going to be providing. So I'm just going to talk you through, I guess, some top tips and what the law fair is and where it's happening. And obviously, if you've got any questions for us, then please do use the Q&A function as well. So it's taking place tomorrow. So the law fair takes place between 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock, and it's actually taking place off campus. So it'll be down at the Glasgow Grosvenor Hotel. So this is on Byres Road. Okay, so if you pop it into Google Maps, it's about a 10-minute walk from the kind of the main university campus, somewhere near the library. Okay, so it's not too far to go. The reason that we run this is, I guess, to give you an opportunity to speak with representatives from a whole range of different law firms and organisations, and there will be, I guess, in England and Wales, or recruiting for England and Wales, and also Scotland, and they'll be of all shapes, different shapes and sizes. Some of them will have graduate roles, others will have traineeships, some will have internships. But even if you're not at that stage, as we said, it's a great opportunity to go and hear about them, ask questions, find out about what that organisation really values, and just to start building your connections, I guess, with some of these organisations. It's a great way of receiving some career advice. And again, we will have people like myself and my colleagues there as well. So if you were looking to ask careers advice type questions, then it's a great chance to ask them as well. And just by joining, there is also, coming along on a day, signing in, there's an opportunity to win Daft Friday tickets and a few other things as well. So lots of reasons, I guess, to come along tomorrow. So who can you meet? So we have around 38, 39 exhibitors, and you can see these all on the screen here. So you'll see there's some Magic Circle law firms, Silver Circle law firms, local law firms, and pretty much everyone in between. What we'll do is these are all available on our website, so I will post in the chat just a link to this law fair page, and you can go and obviously have a look a little bit more about this information, and it does include this full list of exhibitors as well. So it's great to do some kind of research in advance, see who's coming, and I guess make a plan about who it is that you would like to come and see. Okay. After the law fair, we're also running a Legal Careers Beyond Scotland event. So this is a panel that I'm going to be hosting, and we're going to be joined from 3 different law firms, so A&O Sherman, Pinsent Masons, and Covington and Burling. And the idea is to give you some advice about, for those of you looking to, I guess, start your legal career beyond Scotland, or that you might be interested in this. So we'll be talking about all things law careers that are happening, I guess, outside of Scotland itself. This is a panel talk. It will be a Q&A. So we'll start off with some kind of tell me about your career history and things like that to those that will be joining us. And then really it will be over to you to ask your questions and to get your questions asked. So it'll be a really good event. There's no need to register for this panel session. It will just be a chance for you to join after the law fair finishes. So it finishes at 2, and then at the same location, it will immediately turn into this panel event. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? Well, I thought it would be great to cover some top tips for you about how you can make the most of the law fair that we've got going on. So if you've never been to a law fair before, this is something that it looks like. It'll be a room full of exhibitors, full of students, and really finding out about what the kind of things that these organizations are offering. So some of the top tips then, well, the first one is to do your research in advance. So it is to start thinking about identifying the kind of employers who are going to be attending. So I've just shared the list with you. It's available on our website and I'll share it again at the end. But before you come, it's great to do some research about these organizations. So do you know what practice areas that they're going to be specializing in, and how does that match up with what you want to do? What opportunities are they kind of offering right now, or do they offer in general? And where are their offices located? So what are these kind of things that you want to know in advance? My advice or my top tip here would be to kind of make a list of who it is that you'd like to speak to. And on the day, we'll be sharing a map and things like that, so you can kind of target these companies and have a bit of a plan of action. What I've tried to do as well on these slides is try to do some do's and don'ts. So something that we quite often see is maybe questions getting asked that you could probably go and answer yourself. So you could probably find out where their locations are, what opportunities they are, by doing a little bit of research in advance. So it's much better to come along with some of that information and really get into some of the more detailed questions, maybe talking about the values of the organization, and so on and so forth, and really trying to build that rapport with them on the day. A second tip then is to network. So as Megan was saying, even if you're not ready to apply for the traineeships at this stage, it's a really good opportunity to start growing your network. So think about the kind of questions that you might ask. What is it that's important to you? Is it that they have strong values? Is it they help a certain type of client? Think about what is your primary goal of attending. What is it that you would like to leave with from the session, from the law fair? Try to talk to as many employers on your list as you can. It is likely to be busy, so you might have to be patient and wait a little while to talk to people, but try and get around as many as you can. And then maybe at the end of the session, try and follow up with a personalized message, say it was great to meet them today, or even, feel free to ask them to connect on LinkedIn or something like that. So it's a great way a bit of strategy to actually start to grow your network on the day. Now, my advice here would be try not to approach stands in large groups. So it's really easy to come along with a group of your friends, but actually it's probably more likely that you want to have that individual conversation. So you might come together, but then, try to kind of talk to people individually. It's a great way to reflect, you getting your questions answered, and to make that good impression, by you as an individual too. Okay, the third one is just to be yourself. Some people get, a bit scared or a bit nervous, which is completely understandable. But so practice your introduction to employers. What is it that you're going to say to them, when you first approach them? How are you going to introduce yourself? And what information would you like to share to these employers on the day? We often get asked about kind of what the dress code is. So we would say generally dress professionally. Smart casual is often a common choice, and that is what we see most recently. There's no need to come in kind of a full suit and things like that unless you would want to. Okay, so that's kind of the smart casual is what we generally see. Just remember that lawyers will generally have to deal with people on a day-to-day basis, so those interpersonal skills are key. So you really want to make a good first impression, okay, when you're here. So be sociable, be friendly, and imagine that you are that solicitor that you're aiming to be. And on the back of that, make sure that you're creating that general conversation, listen, be engaged, have that positive interaction. Another question that we generally get asked is around CVs. So there's no need for you to bring loads of copies of your CV along and hand them out on the day. Generally, you might get information about where you can go to apply, or you can connect on LinkedIn, and this is probably going to be a better kind of connection for you as well. There's no reason that you can't bring along your CV, and actually we will have some kind of careers advice type appointments on the day that are available. So if you did want to get it checked, you could bring a copy along for that reason too. Try to stay open-minded. As you've heard, there will be a range of different sizes and shapes kind of organizations here. So yes, having a clear plan is good, but actually maybe keeping an open mind to different practice areas or different kind of firms is a good idea. Try speaking to an employer that's not on your list. Again, it's a great way to just practice your kind of communication style and make you feel confident. And actually, it might be an opportunity for you to discover new interests or new opportunities, maybe that you've never thought about before. So maybe try and speak to someone, and try and get an idea about that as well. There also might be firms that you've not heard about before, because, like I said, there will be the kind of the big firms, but also some smaller and local firms too. So a great opportunity, I guess, for you to expand your horizon as well. And so here, yeah, don't focus just on those large, well-known firms. It's good to give everyone that kind of opportunity. And then my final tip here is, set yourself up so that you can actually reflect after the fair as well. It will probably feel a bit overwhelming. You'll feel, quite tired after you've been because it is a quite full on. So make sure that you bring an iPad or a tablet or something similar, or even a notepad and pen, and take notes, from your conversation. You'll want to remember the key things that you're learning about, the questions that you're asked, the questions that you're asking. And it could be that you're jotting down key information about this. You might get a contact detail so you can follow up with an email. They might actually be able to give you some application tips and advice similar to what you've heard Megan talk about today. And they should be able to share things like their deadlines and things like that with you as well. So definitely try and capture some of this in a way that works for you, however you like to take notes. And then make sure to actually take some time after the fair, set aside some time to kind of do a bit of reflect, what stood out for you, what was different, who you're going to follow up with, and really just make sure that you build in some time for this. And my key tip here would actually to use this information that you learn. You're making the effort to come along to the law fair. So actually use that information that you're learning, apply it to your applications, and see what you can do differently as a result of attending the law fair. So in terms of the recap, make sure that you're doing your research. A great opportunity for network, whatever stage of the process that is that you're at. Make sure to be yourself, stay open-minded, and then make sure you build in that time for reflection after the event. I'm going to end the recording there. So press stop.